Recently, I was doing one of the things I love to do more than anything else. I was eating. And my wife was cooking a ham. I love ham. My wife had bought a ham and he cooked it. After she got it out of the oven, it was now my turn to cut the ham. Well, we had some people over at the house and we were all sitting around the table talking. My problem is that I was talking while at the same time I was attempting to cut the ham. On top of that, the knife I had was long and sharp. As I was cutting the ham, I was looking back to talk to family and friends at the table. That is, until I sliced the knife straight through my left index finger. Ouch. It's just where the skin meets the nail. I sliced it up good. Now, don't panic. It wasn't a terrible slice. It was fairly deep. My problem is I've been taking a baby aspirin every day for a while, so my blood was a little thin. The problem was I began to bleed like I'd been shot with a shotgun. I think my wife was more concerned about the mess I was making in the kitchen than she was about my poor little finger. Just kidding. It really wasn't that bad. I washed it up and bandaged it, and it's been no problem for me really ever since. It caused very little pain or very little discomfort. After all, I am a man, and it was just a cut on the finger. John Wayne implication implied here, okay? Then a couple of days later, I was in my office going through some mail. I took my thumb, and on the same wounded hand, I ran my thumb under the flap of the sealed envelope to open up the flap. As I did, the flap just barely sliced through my palm. I'm talking about the quintessential paper cut. It was almost an imperceptible cut. You couldn't even see it with the human eye. It was so minor and so small, I can't even see it today. Yet that puppy hurt, and it still hurts. It hurts so much more than the gash I made in my finger. To me, it's wild that a small paper cut can hurt as much, if not more, than a gash in your finger. Well, of course, I had to do some reflecting on that. Is it not true that many of the most painful wounds we ever receive, or for that matter, hand out, are quiet wounds, small, almost imperceptible? They come in the forms of short, quick words that cut and submersively make their way into people's lives. They come in little barbs and innuendos. They take on the form of sarcasm and humor. And they come from places we least expect. I was cut with an envelope of all things. We get our little cuts and scrapes from friends and family alike. Little words and even little actions that make their way just beneath our skin. At a glance or a sudden look that we give somebody can carry a spirit of disdain or contempt that can wound the human heart. We can turn our heads and ignore or slight people, and it can result in pain to those people. It's almost imperceptible, but it's a little slice of emotion that we put into their lives. The Bible tells us we're to be careful. Paul wrote in Ephesians 4:29, "Don't say anything that would hurt another person. Instead, speak only what is good so that you can give help whenever it is needed. That way, what you say will help those who hear you." At the same time, our words can have a wounding effect. Our looks and glances can just as well. But our words can also have a healing and helpful effect. Paul would later write in 1 Thessalonians 5:11, "Therefore encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact you are doing." I said we can do the same thing with our eyes and even with our body language. Solomon wrote in Proverbs 30 verse 13, "They look proudly around, casting disdainful glances." As we spend a few minutes with the Lord in reflection today, maybe we need to give some thought about how our expressings, our disdainful glances, our little words might bring pain and cause wounds in the lives of people we know and love. It can be quiet and subtle. So quiet and subtle that we can deny we've even done it because we were so guarded in what we said and the way we looked. But the damage is there nonetheless. Innuendos, words of criticism, gestures of impatience, all cut ever so slightly into the objects of our momentary disdain, but they get our point across. Our point of anger, rejection, or contempt is clear. And those words and glances leave behind small paper cuts in the human heart and human spirit of those we targeted. Every believer needs to be on guard against these little small, hidden, mean-spirited acts or words that can hurt people. This is simply not the way for believers and followers of Christ to act. Today we need to focus on words of kindness and love. We need to hand out looks of concern and acceptance instead of hurtful words and wrong glances. Here's a great thought for the day. My words and actions can lift up or they can cut down. Here's a great prayer to pray today. God, help me today not to hurt or bring pain to anyone in my life by the words I say or the actions I take. God bless.